Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the FPL Hangover podcast, where we raise the bar and lower the tone, all things FPL related. Hell's bells, do we have a juicy pork chop of a show lined up for you this week, folks. We're going to be looking at some promoted potential to see if there's any cut price options that might turn into little gems as the season moves on. We're also going to be looking at the summer signings to see if any new names that we can fit into our teams. As it's a game week 1 preview, I suppose we better take a walk through our current drafts and see what state they're in. Now, we are recording this on Monday the 7th of September, and yeah, we're less than a week away from the deadline, the game week 1 deadline. And as much as we've been yapping about FPL over the last couple of episodes, it still feels like it's crept up upon us. And speaking of crept up upon, he's got his shoulders flexing and his arms T-Rexing, my podcast partner in crime, Seamus. How are you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, pretty good. Thanks for having me once again,
I'm not having you. This is like half your show.
I feel surprised every week when I'm invited back on.
Well, it's, you're pushing your luck. You're pushing your luck at this stage.
Except for the fact that you give me homework to do occasionally. And yeah, we did some homework this week and had a look at some of the newer signings. I think you looked at the promoted teams, so split the workload.
We're going to see, I think, a distinct lack of professionalism on my side in regards to promoted potential. I think it's just a little bit disheartening at times for me, because there's so many, it's so rare that you find a gem coming up. But we've got a few that we can talk about. There's definitely some budget enablers in there, I think, that we were looking at before we hit record. But yeah, how's your week been, man?
Yeah, all good here. Did a bit of tinkering, listened to some different FPL podcasts out there this week, and the usual ones I might listen to. So yeah, trying to think of different strategies and ways to approach it and layouts of my team. So I've been tinkering with my team since we last talked. I've changed my layout a small bit.
You do not look too enamored. You don't look too excited. Are you, a little bit kind of trepid about the season started?
Small bit. I put this in the group chat we're part of earlier on today. Some guys, it's just so hard to know what players to go with without preseason. There's normally you have a bit of preseason form you can go on and maybe get excited by one or two players, but like Man United basically haven't had a preseason because they're taking like that 30 days. They're still like 30 days from when they last were in action. Same with Man City. There's no games to go on there.
Cut you off, it sounds like Greenwood's enjoying his preseason. I don't know about the rest of the Man United players, but Greenwood's definitely having a bit of a laugh. But go on.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's I've got a cat here and I was looking for attention behind me. Yeah, there's not much to go on there. Normally you look at the promoted teams for a bit of preseason potential. You still can a bit, but with the internationals on at the same time, like for example, I was going to say Stoke again. But Sheffield United and Stoke all last season. I kept just calling Sheffield United Stoke. It's the stripy jerseys, and it's just my poor brain.
I think there's probably
just
more
can't
to
handle
that,
it.
Seamus, though, to be fair, because like we were only saying before we sat down that like we're looking at some 5 million Sheffield United defenders this season, and that actually reminds me of back when Stoke were in the season, or Stoke were in the league for a couple of years running, and after a while you kind of knew what Pulis was doing. Like in the Pulis age, you kind of knew that they were kind of going to try and keep a clean sheet. So there was like 5 million defenders there. That this season I can see your Sheffield United Stoke kind of mixing
comparisons. Yeah, I mean the teams, the way they play is completely different. I mean Stoke were just a long ball, backs to the wall team. I remember Robert Hood, Ryan Shawcross, not really ball players. Whereas Sheffield United, Chris Wilder has got Sheffield United like attack with flair, overlapping centre backs. Now they're not scoring a whole lot of goals. You don't really want their attackers, but yeah, I just tend to get those two teams mixed up in my head. So if you hear me saying Stoke on this, I'm actually talking about Sheffield United. But what I was saying is like Sheffield United had a preseason game only this weekend, and like they had a pretty much full strength squad in attack, but in defence, like all their players were off on international duty, so they had like Phil Jagielka and stuff like that playing, whereas like John Egan was there playing for Ireland. So it's kind of hard to gauge any form from these kind of preseason friendlies.
The preseason? Like, I mean, this is our first time probably, you know, obviously experiencing this like really lack of a preseason. I know there's usually like there's World Cups and stuff like that, but I suppose like just a quick turnaround that the season is starting straight away pretty much after the last one ended. Do you miss kind of that bit of a break and being able to look at a longer preseason? Like I know I was picking like, you know, Aknamaga with my team this week, and I'd go onto the Scout and I'd be looking at you know, the preseason guide, and they have it broke down by matches, like preseason 1, preseason 2, preseason 3. So many fucking teams have played one match that like you're looking at people with 60 minutes of a preseason. And yeah, I find it a bit tough. I mean, I usually enjoy doing that, you know, kind of other years.
Yeah, that bit of analysis usually kind of will kind of give you a bit of a competitive edge versus some casuals. But now it's just really, really hard to see who's going to start off, you know, really well, who's going to be slow out of blocks, who's going to need some time. Yeah, it's just difficult because it's not a level playing field. Man City, Man United are coming back. They're missing the Game Week 1 fixture. That alone is an odd thing for a Game Week 1, having a blank in there. So yeah, things like that, and then you got to figure out what you want to do about those Man United, Man City, to a lesser extent Villa and Burnley players from after that. No, some people might be able to bench one or two of them, but those are pricey players to keep on your bench. So yeah, it's hard to tell. And if you do go for a particular team, what happens if they get off to a slow start? Especially with new signings, you know, how are players going to integrate into the team without that time? So the first few game weeks, I don't know, could they be low scoring affairs? Could they be higher scoring affairs while teams get used to defense and get up to speed? It's a really tough one to. There could be a high variance in these first few game weeks between teams.
I get what you're saying. In news of the podcast, as I mentioned every week so far, this is coming out on YouTube as well as the audio platforms. So if ye are willing and kind enough, any likes and subscribes on YouTube would really get that channel kind of moving and get us going in the right direction. But other news in the pod, we actually got accepted in the phase 1 of the Fantasy Football Scout Academy. And yeah, that was pretty sweet. I was chatting to them for the last couple of weeks, and they're basically setting up an initiative to kind of pool together for smaller, you know, content creators who are just getting started. And I thought, you know, with the YouTube channel kicking off this year, why the fuck not? I mean, I've already plugged them 5 minutes ago when I was talking about the preseason guide. So, you know, why not have a nice little badge to put on the thumbnail, and a big recommend. But Seamus, you were very upset with that in a good way, like as in I haven't seen you cry like that since that time you got kicked out of the marathon.
Kicked out of the marathon. Well, the time it was cancelled.
Well, I like to look at it that you got kicked out of the marathon.
Yeah, me and all other like 6,000 people or whatever. Yeah, we all got kicked out
for charity, I remember, and then you just kept
that money was only resting in my account and has since been donated. You know, I misplaced the receipts, but you know, you can trust me. No, that money was all given to charity. Yeah. Damn you, bringing my credentials into that. But yeah, it was what is it? You know, to be affiliated with the Scout in any way, shape, or form is amazing. Just can't wait for that first paycheck to come in. When do you know what date a month we get paid?
25th. Not of this month. We have to basically work a month in hand, and then it's just dollar bills, man. They're rolling in after that. But we did also make a mistake last week. Silly Seamus forgot to tell me the mini league code. No, I'm lying. I'm trying to put the blame on him, and I've been told by herself indoors that I need to work on acceptance and self-acceptance. No, it was my fault. We completely forgot to put the fucking mini league code out on last week's pod. It's been sitting there, and yeah, we did. We set up the mini league again. That's there. We have a reigning champion for the first time with Alan Fruity Finucane. I don't even know if he wanted to be called that, Fruity FC. It's probably not how he saw that one panning out, but yeah, we have a reigning champion, and the code for this season's FPL Hangover podcast mini league is EH4HH7. I repeat, E for Echo, H for Harlot, 4 for Forever, H for Heart. There's so many H's. EH4HH7. I can't believe there's 3 H's in that.
It's only 6 digits long. There's 3 H's.
And I was thinking, maybe I'll just wing some kind of phonetic alphabet thing that you usually do, because you have that stuff on lock, that Echo Delta Lima shit. And I said, no, I'll do it.
Well, who knew H was for Harless?
Well, I mean, that was the first word that came to my mind, so I suppose that says more about me than I intended to let out. But yeah, so that's the mini league pod. I'll say it again, EH4HH7. I would expect you all to instantly put down this show right now and go sign up. Yeah, I think that's a bit of an intro, Seamus. I think it's about time we moved on to all of this preparation we said we've been doing. I think we'll start off with yours, because I think that's the most interesting, especially with news today. As I said, we're recording this on Monday. We've seen the confirmation of James Rodriguez being signed by Everton. And we've seen Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser being confirmed for Newcastle in the last few days. So yeah, it's kind of kicking off, and we'll take a quick look at the summer signings. Seamus, you've done a bit of research on this. You were tasked with having a look at all these players, and yeah, we're going to judge you pretty harshly on what you produce right now. So I hope you're not nervous.
No. I mean, I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be an exam on this. I was hoping there might be some predictive grades that might dictate how many points I'm going to get in the CEO this year.
Yeah, came out today. That's big news.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know anyone doing the Leaving Cert anymore. That's a sure sign of getting older.
I think it's more of a limbo thing, because you aren't old enough to have a load of kids, but you're young enough. You're not young enough to.
And none of my friends are having kids, and yeah, all like younger brothers are finished college and stuff at this stage. So, yeah, that's just showing me old age.
Of friends.
But yeah, I mean, the story of this transfer window so far is Chelsea.
Big time.
They're the one team that are signing players, and look, there's rumors that they're about to sign a new keeper potentially, and Declan Rice is who they're eyeing up next. And everything. Like, I don't know how many people are going to sign in this window, but they could have like 8 out of 11 new players in their starting lineup. One of the first players they signed, signed Hakim Ziyech. I believe that's how you said you pronounce his name. I think that is. He's coming in at 8 million.
Sorry, I absolutely dead earlier.
Yeah.
I thought that's this weird Skype lag thing you gotta get used to. I even saw Joe Rogan talking about it on his Miley Cyrus episode, and I was like, yeah, there is a fucking lag. It does my head in sometimes. But yeah, no, I can't remember what we were talking about now. I just got so bogged down in Ziyech. Yeah, he said it. I watched I watched a little stupid video, and yeah, he said Ziyech, and I'm like, maybe there's a sound that I'm not getting right. I've been told by the German girlfriend that the Irish vocal depth is it's not the same. Apparently, it's limited. It's not the same as European or different fucking vocal things. But anyway,
our European overlords, yeah, it is a bit different.
But go on, hit me with some Ziyech facts.
But Hakim Ziyech is he's a Dutch-born Moroccan international, 27 years of age, so he should be at the peak of his powers right now. He plays attack in midfield or right wing. He's left-footed, so I mean, left-footed right winger. That's reminding you immediately of like Mo Salah or Riyad Mahrez. Okay, loves a shot. This man loves a shot. He's signed from Ajax, priced really kindly at 8 million in the league. Okay, last season he had 21 appearances for Ajax in the league, got 6 goals, 12 assists. Now that's obviously with limited minutes. It was only 1,600 minutes, and what's that? He's averaged 4.2 shots a game, which is crazy high. Now it is the Dutch league, okay. Key passes 3.7 per game last season. Season before, where he played more minutes, he played 29 games, 2,400 minutes approximately. He had 16 goals and 13 assists, 5.3 shots a game, 3.7 key passes on average. If you break it down, as I said, he's 27. Over the last few seasons, what is that? Over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, he's averaged about 29.5 games a season with 11.3 goals on average, 12.5 assists per season, and averaging about 4.7 shots per game. That's a crazy amount for somebody who's not a striker. So basically, the man loves a shot. Gets a good few goals. He's good for about 10 goals a season or so. Gets a lot of assists. Has averaged a minimum of 10 assists every season for the last 6 seasons in the Dutch league with Ajax and FC Twente, and still averages 3.4 key passes a game. So what you take from this is man is going to be taking shots from distance. Okay, they're going to be speculative. He doesn't get too many on target compared to the shot volume he takes, but he will get goals and he will get assists. He seemed to do very well with by all accounts what I'm reading. With I'm blanking on this guy's name here. The cat's trying to get out. One second. Get out.
Very inappropriate, Seamus. This is live shit right now.
Yeah,
you know?
Cat live. Yeah, cat's live on air trying to get out. Have to bow to our cat overlords.
Is he a European cat?
Too many overlords.
So he's a European cat overlord. Oh god.
She is. But who's Tadic? Dusan Tadic was playing for Ajax on the left. He used to play with Southampton. We all know him. Fantasy Premier League god a few seasons ago. I don't know about that.
What are you talking about?
And there was like a game week 8 or 9 game where he got like 3 or 4 goals or something like that, and he just scored like a massive like 21 points. He's only priced at 6.
That's like saying Chumbawamba were a fucking music gods at one stage. He was a one-hit wonder. I think most people remember him as a frustrating motherfucker to have in their fantasy team.
Yeah. Went from Southampton to Ajax and has been really good. And he had an amazing season. Not the season just gone, but the season before. And a lot of his assists came from Ziyech switching the play from the right flank over to the left, where he would get into the edge of the box and get a goal. Got a lot of goals. So if that can be replicated at Chelsea this year, I could see a lot of goals for Pulisic potentially, when he gets back from his injury.
So like you're talking a big game and Ziyech, right? But I mean, like realistically, I want to know, are you looking at him, putting him in your team, or are Chelsea like a wait and see for you? Because we're going to be blabbing on about Chelsea for the next few minutes. But in general, like you mentioned, you can see by game week 8 needing 2 Chelsea attackers. And I think that's pretty fair statement to make. Like, what's your thoughts on Chelsea?
I think we're all going to be on like multiple Chelsea attackers after like 8 to 10 game weeks. I think because the value is there. If they hit the ground running any bit, if they start scoring goals like we think they will, they scored a lot of goals last year. They're attackers, and the team is like so good. They're so much better this year. At least the attacking talent is there. Whether they gel or not remains to be seen. But it's going to be hard to like not see these attackers, more of which we'll talk about in a while, not resulting in more goals or assists. So yeah, I'm really on Ziyech. I had him in my team. Then he got a knee injury in their preseason friendly against Brighton. He didn't get an assist. He switched the ball over to Hudson-Odoi, I think, who took a bad touch, fell to Werner, who got his first goal for Chelsea. He was in a friendly, of course. They're playing Brighton on the first day of the season, so it's kind of odd that they'd
it is a bit weird, isn't it?
Preseason friendly. Yeah, maybe that was all organised before the fixtures were announced. You imagine that's what happened. But I was a bit horny for him, and whether I stick with him or not, I don't know. It will depend on injury news closer to it. I think he was probably the most likely of their new players to start, along with Werner, who I'll get to here shortly. But he, I'll see. I might have to. I think I'm just going to start with Werner now. Starting with 2 seems kind of risky. Definitely want to,
especially with as you said, Havertz. We will get to him soon, and with Havertz and Ziyech, and Pulisic coming back from injury, you kind of have to wait and see what the lineup's going to be. I think everyone outside of Werner is a bit of a risk, or at least a wait and see. But I think that makes Werner even more locked on, don't you think?
Yeah. Those stats were taken from Fantasy Football Scout as well. So look,
there you go. Constantly
plug in our masters.
What is it with you and overlords and masters tonight? I feel like you're coming across as some beaten down fucking peasant.
I've been working all day. I'm working all day. I'm just feeling very subservient at the moment. And you run this pod. I'm just your slave,
Igor,
basically, when it comes to this. Well, next player on the list, we'll move on because we could be talking about players all day, and I just want to speak about the main guys. Timo Werner is the next one. Okay, German international, 24 years of age, center forward, coming in at 9.5. So he's 0.5 less than Vardy. He's $1 million less than Kane and Aguero, so he's coming in at a pretty good price. I thought he'd be priced more, so I think he's underpriced as well, as Ziyech probably will be as well. I think both these guys will prove to be a great value over the course of the season. He sometimes plays left wing. He's played left wing before. He's been playing center forward more the last few seasons, but something to be aware of. Last season he played 5 games left wing, so if Pulisic is out for a few games, that could be how he sees makes his introduction. Small bit of a worry, but purchased primarily to
So
play center
who
forward.
would you see taking the centre forward slot if Werner is out on the left? You think it's up between Giroud and Abraham? Is it still?
Yeah, I think he could just whoever's probably showing better form preseason. I don't know if Giroud's form at the end of last season puts him slightly ahead of Abraham, but he may want to introduce all these new players
Yeah.
slowly, show some loyalty to the existing players before kind of saying, "Well, look, you can start, but if you don't do the business, then these guys are ready to come in and
It'd be a little empty,
fight for
but
this position."
maybe it's a sign of respect. I don't know. Either way, I would expect.
Yeah, it's hard.
I would expect Werner
Well,
to
it's hard to say
start up
with
front.
France.
That's what he's been playing in the friendly.
Yeah, me too. Me too. These are just me overthinking things a small bit and kind of go, this could happen and this may happen. We'll know closer to the date. So it's something. These are things to watch out for more than necessarily be worried about. But getting to some of his stats, last year in the league he had 28 goals and 8 assists. Overall, he had 34 goals and 13 assists. It's great stats. He was really made a name for himself last week. This is for RB Leipzig. Season before, he had 16 goals, 9 assists in the league. Season before that, 13 goals, 8 assists. Season before that was his breakout season, 21 goals, 7 assists. So he's, like in the last 159 games for Leipzig, he scored 95 goals, 40 assists. So he's averaging, 135 goals and or assists in 160 games, pretty much 159 games. So, he's close to a goal or an assist a game, attack and return. Very high minutes there. So, yeah, he's somebody you got to expect is just going to keep on improving, especially with the supply lines that are going to be coming in at Chelsea. Pulisic on the left, Ziyech on the right, and Kai Havertz probably right behind them. So, very, very exciting prospect. I have him in my team. I've had him in most of my drafts so far. I've experimented with putting Vardy and stuff in there, but I just think that this is the guy to go for. I think you have him too,
I
right?
currently have him too. As you said, Vardy is the one I'm maybe like a little hesitant to come down. Like my first draft had a Vardy version of it because he was fucking Golden Boot winner last year, and I think Leicester have a decent start to the season. So I'd have no. It's basically like, do you make the kind of take a bit of leap of faith in Werner that he starts his English Premier League career running, or do you stick with someone that I feel like is a safe option these days? Like he's the talisman for Leicester City. So it's a money thing for me. It's like just sheer I can save that 0.5. Maybe like I have 1.5 in the bank right now. I need $1 million to finish my game week, kind of reacting to Man City and Manchester United coming back plans. So I have 0.5 to mess around with. I can either turn one of my 4.5 defenders into a Sheffield United option like we mentioned with Egan, or I could look at bumping Werner up to Vardy for what I feel is a safer pick, but a little less exciting. I want to get a bit of Chelsea right now. That's the truth. They've overhaul their team, and that's risky as fuck, but I'm excited by it in the sense like there's a shit ton of players I've never really seen play come into the Premier League now, and I kind of want a bit of that action, and Werner is definitely the best of the Chelsea options.
Yeah, the last of their kind of 3 big attacking additions they've made was the most recent addition of Kai Havertz, priced at 8.5 million. He's younger now. He's 21 years of age, plays as an attacking midfielder, German international again, left-footed. So we've got 2 left-footers there as well. He has, last season in the league for 30 games, 12 goals, 6 assists. He averages 2.2 shots a game, so he shoots less, but he seems to be more accurate than someone like Ziyech. He averages 2 key passes per game last season. Season before, from 34 games, 17 goals, 3 assists. That includes a couple of, I think, 3 penalties as well. 2.6 shots per game, 1 key passes per game. So his key passes per game are lower than Ziyech. He has less shots, but scoring more goals, seems to be more accurate. He plays quite often quite advanced, just behind the main striker, almost in the hole. So he could be brilliant playing off of Werner. So let's see. He could be almost kind of used as like almost a second striker. So it will depend on the games, and we'll see how he fits into the team. Will he start game week 1? He's only signed in the last week. Maybe he's not ready. I don't know. I think if any out of any position, I think he's most likely to not play. I think there's a good chance Mount could play, but Mount could play on the left or potentially if
you mentioned wanting to, wanting Frank Lampard possibly wanting to not completely disown the team that he had last year, and I think Mount is probably top of the list of players that he's most likely to kind of maybe reassure, maybe give him a start. Honor. Yeah, exactly.
Love, honor, obey. Yeah, definitely. He's like loves that boy, and
I really like him. I really like Mount.
Didn't quite get the attacking returns in FPL that we would hope for. Like just a few goals short. I don't know exactly what he got now. I'd have to pull up his stats, but like it seems like he got maybe 6 goals, 8 assists sort of thing, which was good for his price, but for the increase in price he's got this year and the doubt around his starting place, yeah, it seems a bit high. I would rather will Frank start with Pulisic on the left, Werner up front, Ziyech on the right, and Havertz as the furthest forward attacking midfielder? You would think that would be the starting formation like throughout the season and the season goes on, but will that be the place for game week 1, game week 2?
Pulisic, is he going to be ready for game week 1?
He's close. He's doing well, but we don't know until closer to it when they have their interviews. Will he be ready for game week 1 or not? You have to think with a hamstring injury, and it looked like a bad one in the Community Shield, that takes 5 or 6 weeks to kind of be back from. He could be back for game week, maybe not for game week 1. Could be on the bench. Could be back for game week 2 or 3. But you have to think even after something like that, it does take a bit of time to fully come back from that without aggravating it again. I remember when he was injured. Remember he got the hat-trick last season. He was kind of had a niggly injury, and he was kind of went like 8 game weeks where he did nothing. It's because he was managing an injury. I think it was a hamstring injury again. And it was only when he came back after Christmas, then when he had fully healed up from that injury, that he was on fire again. So I don't think it's something I want to be getting in him straight away, which is why someone like Havertz or Ziyech could be brilliant, what you would call placeholders for that sort of play.
Yeah, no, I think it's very much a wait and see with Chelsea outside of Werner, and even with regard to Werner, he is, as we said, an unknown in FPL, so it is a wait and see, I suppose, in that regard. But I'm not worried about minutes. Looking at other teams, Seamus, because we could literally sit here and start talking about Thiago Silva. We could talk about potential keepers that Chelsea are going to sign. We could do a whole fucking episode on how Chelsea have, kept the British transfer market alive this summer. But other teams, Seamus, I don't know if you got a chance to prep it, so I will mention it. Like Callum Wilson signing for Newcastle. Like, we don't know a price for him right now, but that's definitely got managers talking in regards to if he comes in at a valid option. I assume you don't have any stats on this guy, but we don't.
No, I've only looked. The stats and the homework I've done here is more so the new additions to the league, as opposed to I haven't looked at Chilwell. He was with Leicester last year. His stats are there for people to see, but no one's going to be able to pull up. Yeah. Timo Werner's stats without looking for, not in the fancy Premier League website.
Yeah, and to be honest with you,
so my stats have been pulled from like transfermarket.co.uk or Fancy Football
Scout. I'll take the hit for that one as well, because I believe that when I was asking you to do a bit of research for us, I said new additions as opposed to kind of summer signings. But I suppose in the last, that was, yourself, how quick fucking time can go in the preseason. And a week since we last spoke, all of a sudden we're talking about Callum Wilson again, which I didn't expect, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's just so many aside from the new additions to the league, which there's many. If you were to just talk about players switching between clubs in the Premier League and things like that itself, you would never get through it. There'd be like 2 or 3 different pods if you wanted to talk about people in detail. So I just wanted to talk about the big guys there with Chelsea. There's also Thiago Silva, who's new to the league. He's 36 this month and he's centre back. He's 5.5 million in the league. Not really worth talking about. But talking about Wilson, yeah, we saw him last season. He was largely ineffective. It will depend on his price. With a team like Newcastle, he could be good. Is Ryan Fraser confirmed?
I think that's been confirmed. I'm pretty sure I've seen a picture of him looking smug beside a Newcastle crest. Now, with today's technological advancements, of course, I can't trust anything. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's confirmed. Pending medical.
Well, I definitely know Wilson has. I saw that literally earlier today and people talking about it I've only heard about Ryan Fraser, but I've been busy at work, so I don't know. Another, like, they're also signing. There's somebody else they're looking at signing.
I don't know, but I am looking at, like, as I said, if Wilson comes in at the right point, that could be, a pretty decent attacking lineup for Newcastle with Almiron, Saint Maximin, Fraser and Wilson. Like, that's all of a sudden turned a team that I thought looked pretty toothless outside of kind of Saint Maximin being, the opposite, I suppose, full of teeth. But fucking all of a sudden they have some attacking options. It is hindered by Steve Bruce, I suppose, being the manager. They're still Newcastle, so I'm not going to be gone in.
Well, Fraser used to mostly play on the left for Bournemouth, or left wing, left midfield. So that's where Maximan plays.
I'd imagine he fucks off to the right.
I mean, does he go to the right? Does he kind of play more central? Does Fraser go to the right? It's hard to see because Fraser has played the right as well before. So look, just something to kind of watch out for in game week 1 or 2 if he has signed and if he is playing. Talking about right wingers, Man City have signed Ferran Torres. He's another young buck. He's 20 years of age. He's a right wing Spanish player. He is 7.0. He comes in with not a whole lot of stats on this guy. I mean, career stats wise, he's only played 71 league games. He's got 6 goals, league goals, 7 league assists in his time in Valencia. Last season, he played 34 league games, 44 in all competitions, scored 4 league goals, 5 assists. So not huge numbers, but he is a young, promising talent. And if someone like Pep Guardiola and Man City are scouting him, then they believe he's got a bright future ahead of him. And he was touted when Sancho was meant to be, looking like he's likely to go to United. Borussia Dortmund were looking at him as a potential replacement at one stage, and Borussia Dortmund have a good scouting network where they buy these young players knowing that they've a good chance of developing into world-class talent and then selling them on for 100+ million a couple of seasons later. So if they're looking at him, then there's a lot of people who are excited by him. So I think it's just this is going to be one season too soon for him to be really a lot of good value for him there. I think he's competing with Mahrez. Foden can play on the right, although maybe more likely to play, central this season. He can also play on the left. So, and there's Bernardo Silva who can play on the right as well. I just think he's going to be behind these guys and his minutes will be limited. So I'm going to just sit back, watch him when he gets game time. I think he'll be introduced slowly,
So you're going to sit back, have a biscuit, cup of tea, and see what is it Ferran Torres? Ferran. Yeah, I was thinking Fernan is just a lazy man's Fernando. But Ferran Torres, that's an interesting name. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I think he's basically just kind of coming in to take the Sané role, in the sense of having a winger that sits on the bench, and can be introduced. And he's young and a good prospect. But yeah, definitely not something I'm considering for my FPL team. What other teams and players have you looked at, Seamus?
A few more here. I'll talk about Aberechi Eze.
Oh, the Crystal Palace signing.
I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. Crystal Palace signing 6.0 million. So he's one of those players that there's not too many players in the 6.0 bracket that are really interesting me. He's one of them. If he hits the ground running, he's 22 years of age. He's right-footed, plays attacking midfield, but can also play center midfield, left or right midfield as well. He really, played a few different positions here last season. When he signed from QPR, he played 46 times, over 4,000 minutes, got 14 goals, 8 assists. So he did really well in the championship last year. Of those 46 games, he played 26 in attacking midfield position. He played 19 of them in a kind of left midfield or left wing position. So he can play left or right, left wing, or he can play kind of attacking midfield. So Zaha also plays left side of midfield, left wing. So yeah, I don't think they're not going to. Maybe he's considered a future replacement for him. But
I feel like
maybe this will
bring
out some. No, well, like we've been saying for seasons that it looks like Zaha wants to go now to a different team. Didn't really look like he was too bothered last year. What do you think? He was kind of lazy.
Yeah, I think he's just that kind of. But I feel like that's just fucking Zaha. Like he's just one of these lads has a bit of an attitude problem, but a world of fucking talent. And I don't know. I feel like to say Eze is a future Zaha is like, I don't know. I actually like what you said about Eze there was the first bit of stats I've actually heard on him. All I do know is that it's not pronounced easy. So any FPL managers with Eze as their in their FPL team names, hoping that you read it as easy, I won't be doing it. I'm gonna make a visceral effort to not do it.
You'll make a point of pronouncing it
Eze Rider. Doesn't work, you fucking idiot. You know.
So he's somebody who he's like you're talking. He's signed by Crystal Palace. So at the end of the day, how interested are you going to be in Crystal Palace? I think it's the same price as Milivojevic, and he's on penalties, although he didn't get too many last year. I think he's somebody to watch. I'd be interested in getting him, but again,
Uniflu.
Not to maybe lump straight in on. He could be somebody to go for, but there's some players from new promoted teams that are 6.0 that you might want to go for instead. 100%. You know,
that's about as much time as you ever want to fucking talk about, I suppose, Crystal Palace signings. You know, what other players have we got?
But he has gotten better there. Well, there's one more Crystal Palace player I want to mention. Nathan Ferguson, 4.0. Yeah, he's just somebody that a lot of people were looking at as a 4.0 route into defence. Signed this year. Was playing with West Bromwich Albion last year. 19 years of age, can play right back or left back. Looks to be signed as a future replacement for Wan-Bissaka. And he played 21 games last year, 12 at left back, 9 at right back. Got 1 goal, 1 assist. Seemingly having a bright future. He's just come up back from an injury, and he doesn't look to be completely ready for the start of the season. So it's a bit of a shame because he was in my team until I heard about this injury that he's still not recovered from.
Yeah, no, he was in my team too. I've actually replaced him with the other 4.0 option, Mitchell, for Crystal Palace, another new player to the Fantasy Premier League. I don't know if he was on the squad last year, but I hadn't heard of him. And I
think he played the last game or so when Van Aanholt got injured.
And that's exactly why he's currently starting is Van Aanholt's injury. So while he is in my squad just for sheer kind of budget, I'm fully aware that once Van Aanholt has shaken off his knock, Mitchell's place is going to be up for grabs. Gone. It's going to be gone, James.
Yeah, and just to finish out here, I've got 2 more players in my analysis anyway, but there's also 1 or 2. I'll mention as well in passing. But Donny van der Beek, or Van de Beek.
I think it's Bake.
I keep calling him Van der Beek.
I think it's Bake.
Beek. That seems like...
I don't know. I think...
Plus, you can kind of it's like James Van der Beek.
Okay, fair enough. So if we're going to go with a Dawson's Creek approach to this, I'm fully on board. Go on. Donny van der Beek.
Kind of doesn't look a million miles away from Dawson's Creek's long lost brother.
I've
anyway.
only seen him at a distance.
He seems to be priced at 7.0 million, but I can't find him in the game. But I've seen him on Twitter being announced as 7.0 million.
Okay, well,
I don't see him.
Do you think he's worth adding to the game?
I don't know, because he's 23 years of age, plays centre midfield or attacking midfield. He's kind of plays in that kind of Bruno position. That's his best position. Arriving late in the box. He's good for goals and a few assists as well. But yeah, last season, 23 games played in the league, 8 goals, 6 assists, 37 goals overall in the season, 10 goals, 11 assists. So, he's kind of getting a goal every 4 games.
Yeah, I watched a couple of analysis videos on this chap, and I think, as you said, he is kind of that attacking midfielder. Almost his best position is the Bruno role, but what he's bringing to United's squad is some actual fucking depth, where that they can rest a few players and they can make some changes, and that's something you saw that was sorely missing at the end of last season. And I'm really, while FPL wise, I'm definitely not very excited about this player. From a United perspective, I'm very happy. What he does is he makes that bit of space. He pulls off. He does score goals. He's a ball of talent. And while I don't think he'll get to minutes, he's gonna maybe next season, as you said with Ferran Torres. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, I just think I can't see a way of him, Pogba, and Bruno all playing at the same time. They're all centre midfielders, and I don't think you're going to drop Pogba or Bruno for him, but it does give depth to the squad. And as a United fan as well myself, I'm excited to see him in the league and how he'll do for United. But there could be times you might want to go for him for spells, if somebody's injured, for example. But yeah, again, I feel like a lot of these guys were saying wait and see. Some of the Chelsea guys were kind of saying, yeah, maybe go for them once they're over their injuries, but the rest are kind of wait and see. So, yeah, that's Donny van der Beek. The last player I did an analysis on there was
Yeah.
Allen for
You
Everton,
actually got this guy in.
which segues nicely. Put him in just to see. I want to know anything
Nice.
about him. He's a 29-year-old centre midfielder. He's Brazilian. He signed from Napoli. Played 23 games for Napoli in the league last year, 2 goals. Overall, he's not somebody who gets a lot of goals. Seems to be kind of more of a ball winner, kind of box-to-box midfielder more than a defensive midfielder. He got 11 goals in 168 league games for Napoli. Before that, he'd played 104 league games for Udinese, only got 1 goal, so he's not prolific. And he gets, he's got 14 assists in those 168 games as well. So he's not going to get you a whole lot of goals or assists. Seems to be kind of more a midfield player. Now, 5.5 million, I can't really endorse him. He's someone to kind of, until I did the stats, I didn't know much about him. Like, I was when I heard they signed Allen, I thought they might have signed Joe Allen. Honest to God. And then I was like, they've hardly signed him. He's probably old now. So, no, it's this guy. And also, there's talks and rumors of them signing Doucouré coming in now. So, like, Doucouré and Allen could be a good centre midfield all of a sudden. Certainly going to be an upgrade on Davies and whoever else they've got playing in there.
And Andre Gomez.
Although I like Gomez. Yeah. So yeah, they'll definitely have options. They could be good this year, especially if they sign Doucouré. But even Gomez and this guy could be.
Yeah, we said Rodriguez signed today. That was confirmed today as well.
James
Rodriguez. He was signed today. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not getting my fucking lips wet at James Rodriguez like I would have been maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He's had a pretty downward spiral over the last couple of years career-wise. I'm too ignorant to know if that's, anything other than injuries or something like that. But I know in terms of games played, severely lacking in numbers. So, yeah, not so much interested in Rodriguez, but I think Everton as an outfit this season have made some interesting changes. And one worth noting is that they haven't, gone for any mad striker. So I'm assuming Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still Ancelotti's man up front this season, wouldn't you say?
Well, Richarlison as well, although in the last preseason game he played out on the left, like a left wing of an attacking three. So it remains to be seen. We don't get enough preseason games to analyse what Carlo Ancelotti is likely going to do. So, yeah, Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison. But that's the one thing I'd hate to go for Richarlison now that they've got these attacking options and suddenly see. I'd hate to go for Calvert-Lewin and then see Richarlison start centre forward and all the James Rodriguez playing, Sigurdsson playing, and then just whoever else. Like it will be. They've got a lot of options. So Calvert-Lewin could find himself on the bench for 7 million in FPL. You'd be kind of pulling your hair out with that. You'd be looking for a replacement. So again, with these teams with so much change, especially with a team like Everton, like Chelsea, who's going to be the established players. Maybe not game week 1, but fairly soon. Everton, you don't know what way he's going to combine these players, especially like someone like Richarlison. So, yeah, you're right in what you're saying. Last season, my namesake, James, scored 1 goal, 1 assist from 8 goals.
Bit of a stretch. Huh? James to Seamus.
I mean, basically, that's like the Spanish version of Seamus.
I know it's the Spanish version of Seamus, and Seamus is the Irish version of James. But, like, I don't know. Yeah. Come on. Go on. Bladder on.
I'm pretty sure Rodriguez translated into Irish is McCarthy.
That's possible.
I don't know. Yeah, but that may be wrong. But the first part is definitely right. But yeah, he only got 1 goal, 1 assist last year from 8 league games in La Liga. He only played 14 times last season, 728 minutes in total, all competitions, a nothing season. The 2 seasons before that, he was on loan with Bayern Munich. Scored some goals with them. I was surprised to see he still got some goals. He got 7 goals each season. Last 2 seasons before that, didn't play a full season. Played like 28 games in 18-19, for example. But so there's some goals. But his attitude overall wasn't that great. Seems to be a bit of a dud with them. So he's hoping to try and get his career back on track. He is 29 years of age, so he's not past it in terms of age or ability. But it's all about attitude. And yeah, I don't know. It definitely kind of, as far as I'm concerned, rules out Gylfi Sigurdsson as an option. Not that I was considering him anyway.
I actually think Sigurdsson, I was going to say it a few minutes ago, but I think Sigurdsson is someone I have high hopes for this season. Not like not high hopes for. I really wish that he pulls back some of the form that we used to, that we knew from him, and maybe like with all of the signings of these attacking midfielders, he gets a position that he kind of feels comfortable with. Because I feel like in the last year or two, he's kind of been playing, and he's kind of been, I suppose, sacrificing his preferred positions for whatever the manager's like whatever hole the manager needs to fill.
Playing deeper in midfield, and
or maybe
like
out wide,
playing on the wing. He's not good on the right.
Like maybe
really.
If he basically gets the kind of like this, the position that he needs, especially at this state of his career, or this stage in his career, I'd like to see him start returning to form a bit. I know it's probably not something we should be talking about in the pod, but if at the end of game week 38, Sigurdsson has had one of the seasons that he had in the days of yore, then we can go back here and go, look, we called it.
Yeah, I think that's wishful thinking. I wouldn't recommend.
It's literally what I said, though. It was wishful thinking.
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd recommend anyone who I'd be talking to about FPL to consider him. Even if he started off well, I'd be afraid that he'd just lose his place after a couple of games anyway, and you'd just be a player that you'd have to transfer.
I feel like we've spent the last couple of minutes just talking about like Chelsea and Everton, but no, you've talked about. We've also got Crystal Palace in there. Is there any other players you've left that you want to shout out, Seamus, or is that?
That's pretty much all of them that I think I've done an analysis on so far. I mean, there's a lot of players, like I haven't looked at Chilwell. His stats, for example, are there in the league, and you can look up Callum Wilson's stats as well from last season. Jeff Hendricks gone to Newcastle. So I think the only thing I would say then is the likes of Eze for Crystal Palace. He's coming in at 6.0 million. When I look at that, I think I would rather go for a player from a promoted team there that could be around the same price. I'm thinking West Brom has a good player there in midfield. Their player of the season, I think.
You've teed me up nicely, Seamus. I don't know if that was intentional. But yeah, no, you've set me up nicely for the next segment that we're going to look at, and that is promoted potential. So you mentioned Pereira for West Brom. We're going to start with...
I didn't mention, but I strongly indicated that's who I was talking about.
And rightly so. But we're going to start with Leeds, because that's the way I did the order here. So I decided the fairest way was to do it in terms of promotion, so I went Leeds, West Brom, Fulham.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and this is the bit that I kind of had a little bit of a look at. Now, you and me, we're different brains. That's why we work so well together. Peanut butter and jelly, chalk and cheese, my favorite of sandwiches. So I don't know if this is going to be of standard that you're used to, Seamus, but I've looked at Leeds, and I don't know. Before I go into it, I want to know, what do you think of them? Because I've actually looked at them, and I know you haven't looked at them. So what's your first kind of thoughts on Leeds? And I can tell you how wrong you are.
Yeah, I've been waiting for Leeds to get promoted for the last 5 seasons or so now. They've always been thereabouts, falling away latter half of the season for some reason or other, falling out of the playoffs, or get to the playoffs and just not quite, get over the line, fall at the final hurdle. So, yeah, I mean, previous seasons gone by, I've kind of kept an eye on them and seen which players are good and stuff like that. But I think about 2 or 3 seasons ago, I said, I'm just going to stop kind of assuming these guys are going to get promoted. And when they get promoted, I'll look more at it. What I've looked at mostly is they've got Bamford up front, right? Last season?
Yeah, last year it was all Patrick Bamford.
Never really liked him. Didn't like him. I know he got a good few goals. What did he get, like 13, 16 goals?
16
year.
Goals, 2 assists.
Got his share of goals, but I've never liked him. Anytime he's been in the Premier League, he was with Chelsea, wasn't he? And then he was with Crystal Palace. Never did nothing.
I'll tell you right now, he had 128 shots in the box last season, and that was the highest in the league.
That's good.
I'll also tell you that his finishing was dreadful. So that will tell you, just because he had the highest amount of shots in the league, maybe like he's a volume shooter. But yeah, he definitely wasn't. Yeah. But to be honest with you, it was for 5.5. He was someone that I thought, he fits a nice mold here. That was until they signed Rodrigo, and I know there's talks of Rodrigo being a winger or playing kind of with Bamford. Yeah. But I would be concerned that maybe he takes Bamford's position off him. I'm not entirely sure. Like, as much research, which air quotes for the audio listeners, as much research as I did on this, I I'm not entirely sure what the fucking wingers situation is for Leeds in regards to, would Rodrigo need to take Bamford's place? It's a big addition to the squad, but he definitely puts a doubt on a 5.5 option that I thought was like pretty fucking nice for a while.
Yeah, Bielsa as well is meant to be a bit of a master tactician, by all accounts. People would be, jerking him off, metaphorically at least.
I'm sure they're doing it
about how good
as
he
well.
is. It may be in the club, but I'm hearing so much about how, this guy, Pep Guardiola loves this guy and everyone loves him. But yeah, maybe he is the master. So maybe
it's not just Pep. Like he's known around the globe. Yeah,
around the world.
He marched in Argentina.
But I just mentioned Pep because Pep is considered one of the managers that everyone loves, and if Pep loves him, then he must be a tactical genius. Yeah, he's somebody that I don't really know much about him or what tactics he's employed too much last season, because I do generally take the approach at the start of the season to not really invest in the new teams, go for tried and trusted players. So I may go for like a 4.5 defender or 4.0 defender if they're proving value. This fucking cat.
So what you're saying to me right now, Seamus, Jesus, I apologize to anyone listening to that shit. It's absolute nonsense.
Okay, you're going to kill me.
I'm going to kill you.
Sorry.
But you kind of led into it there. 4.5 million defenders is exactly where I'm going with Leeds. Like, we kind of got off on the wrong foot in regards to the attacking options, because I was like, I haven't really prepared a lot of attacking options, because outside of Bamford, there wasn't a whole lot. But looking at their defensive options, they got 22 clean sheets last year. 13 home, 9 away, and conceded 35 goals. That's not too bad. 22 clean sheets, 46 games. I'm going, okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure they had higher clean sheets than West Brom and Fulham. I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, okay, this is something to work from. I'm not going to be investing 5 million defenders here, but luckily they have a shit ton of 4.5 million defenders. And Stuart Dallas and Luke Ayling are the two that, if I was interested in Leeds, they'd be the ones I'm going with. Now, the problem is that I think their fixtures are pretty poor. They've got Liverpool and Man City in the first four. I'm not trying to think too far outside of the first four, but like even outside of that, they have Sheffield United and Wolves, so I think they'll be kind of tight games. They have one nice one. Game week 2, they have a Fulham match, and in game week 6, they have Aston Villa. So they have two like okay fixtures, but in general, I want my 4.5 defenders to have a nice run of fixtures over the next couple of game weeks. I'm not really planning my team past the first 4 to 6 game weeks, because, at the start of the season, all this shit can change. So it might seem a little redundant, but as the season goes on, maybe we see a couple of these Leeds defenders, like, as I said, a Luke Ayling or a Stuart Dallas, dropping that 0.1, that 0.2, turning from a 4.5, all of a sudden they're 4.3, and Leeds hit a nice patch. Then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I can save a few bob with them. That's how I'm kind of approaching Leeds. Like, they have some decent, as I said, budget enablers throughout the squad. They have their 4.5s. Their keeper, Meslier, I think they had Casillas last year, but he done fucked up, and I don't think he's getting back into the squad. And so, like, you've got 4...
No, they're looking to sell him.
Yeah, and rightly so. But, like, you've got 4.5 options, kind of. Is it Martinez linked with Leeds as well? Did we mention that in the last episode?
Yeah, they've been looking to try to get him for like over a season now. They were also linked for briefly with I think Romero when United were looking to sell him, but he's gone to Aston Villa now. So yeah, let's see. I think the Martinez kind of move could happen after the deadline. Like the transfer, like game week 1 is obviously 12th of September. That's the deadline for that. But the international. Sorry, the transfer deadline isn't until, the 3rd of October?
I think something like that. Like, the issue is that I actually think if Martinez did move to Leeds, it would be probably a poor option, because right now he looks like he could keep that spot in the Arsenal team, and all of a sudden you have a 4.5 goalkeeper playing for Arsenal. Now, that's something, again, we mentioned in the last episode, we're not going to get stuck in the start of the season with for me, I'm not going to get stuck in the start of the season with an Arsenal keeper that might lose his spot to Leno, very possibly, because I just don't want to make those changes. But like looking at Luke Ayling and Stuart Dallas, 43 chances created by Dallas last season, and 26 shots on target. Only Bamford had more. That's 56 shots Bamford got. We mentioned he had 128 shots in the box, only 56 on target last season, and 26 shots on target from your left back. Now the issue with Dallas is that he kind of was played in multiple positions. Like he kind of basically ended up as a left back.
I was going to ask about that because when I looked at his thing, it said he played center midfield.
Yeah,
and quite a lot. He played in different positions a bit. So is he like a utility player?
I think he's like more of a, like as far as I'm concerned, he's essentially, his performance at the end of the season has kind of knocked him down as a left back right now. But he's not a natural left back. Where his natural position is, I'm definitely too ignorant to know that. But like, if he's playing, it's
a bit more like a James Milner was with Liverpool there before Robertson kind of came out. Well, I was looking at Ayling. I had Ayling in my team at the start of the season before fixtures were announced. But since they have announced the fixtures, you alluded to it earlier. It's a real mixed bag of dicks. Like Liverpool away, game week 1. Sheffield United in game week 3, Man City game week 4, and then even Wolves at home in game week 5. That's a bad home fixture. How they'll do is anyone's guess. Maybe Bielsa will come up.
Bielsa, say it right. I don't know.
What am I saying?
Bielsa or Bielsa or something like that. I don't know what the fuck you're saying, but it's Bielsa. Yeah.
Bielsa. Yeah.
I just needed to get this out in there because I can't have cunts coming back after the show saying, what's wrong with Seamus? Like, was he pissed?
I think what I'm doing is I always get confused with that. So I say Bielsa. Sometimes I say Bielsa the other time. So I know I'm getting it wrong 50% of the time, but I know I'm getting it right 50%.
Just call him Stoke and that'll solve all your issues.
Yeah, so maybe he'll be manager of the month for the month of September and prove to be a genius, and we'll all be like, whoa, these guys are class. And it could be, how Wolves surprised us and did so well in their first season, and nearly said Stoke again, but Sheffield United did really well last season. It could be something like that, or it could be that they get off to a bad start because they have bad fixtures before turning it around. And a lot of people are predicting that they're going to finish, high up the table. They're not going to struggle. They're going to be, a good bit better than the worst teams in the league. People are saying maybe, 9th, 10th, 11th, they could be finishing up that high. Let's see. I'm excited to see what they're like, but I'm not going to start off with them until I have an idea of how Bielsa is going to play and how he's going to line up. I mean, it's the same reason I have doubts, small doubts, albeit, about Chelsea and Everton. Don't really know what way he's going to line up.
I get you. And that's like, I'm the same with you. With Leeds, as far as I'm concerned, I think wait and see a little bit, see how the defenders, or how the situation goes. A couple of price drops here and there, they could become very tasty. But moving on to West Brom, Seamus. Like we talked about looking and waiting to see with Leeds. We mentioned Pereira at the start. He's probably, outside of Mitrovic, he's probably the most likely promoted player to be in my team. And I think that's West Brom's biggest strength, is having a 6 million midfielder as like almost a talisman, a cut price potential talisman,
Yeah, I haven't looked at anyone from West Brom, if I'm completely honest. They still have a few players we remember from a few years back, like they have Fugazi, if we remember him. He's 4.5. I think if I wasn't going for Pereira, none of their strikers appeal. If any of these teams, by the way, got someone like Brewster from Liverpool at 4.5 as an option, somebody on loan like that, be really, really interested in that. But without that, they've got Jake Livermore, players, former players. They've got Diangana.
But going back to Pereira, 6 million, 38 games. He's signed this season. He was on loan last year. 8 goals, 16 assists. I think, like, for 6 million, I don't know. I mean, fixtures-wise, dodgy start. Leicester, Everton, Chelsea in the first 3. But then a sea of fucking green. They got some Southampton, some Burnley, some Brighton, some Fulham. Like, even Sheffield United, Crystal Palace and Newcastle in the 5 after that. So it's like, I don't know if I'm going to jump in and I'm right now, but if I did have a player that I was looking to make money, like to make funds from, and I was dropping down from like a Son to a like, as I said, Pereira, 6 million in game week 4, down to like a nice run of fixtures. If you're looking for, kind of Man United, Manchester City fucking cover that haven't started the year, I think there's a good option. That's kind of why I've got Pereira circled. It's like, okay, he's pretty decent. Sam Johnson in goals, he's played every league game since 2018-2019, 4.5 option, pretty solid. they did sign David Button, but I assume, like, I don't know, is Button gonna is
He's backup, you'd
why
imagine.
would you go
It's
from backup Brighton to
I,
backup West Brom? It just
I don't know, but
better contracts.
it still keeps the 8.5 goalkeepers alive. You know, if you want to go for a 4.5 and a 4.0
Yeah,
rotation, so that kind of frees up your, it allows us now to go triple Brighton. You know, you don't have to have two of your positions used up on goalkeepers. So yeah, that's if you want to go triple attack, for example. I don't think anyone does want
yeah.
to for Brighton, but yeah, Johnson is someone who's semi interesting, but I think I'll probably just go with McCarthy
Yeah,
or Ryan.
I'm with you.
Yeah, they weren't really great. What were their defense? You have the stats for their defense. I don't think their stats were very good away from last season. I think they kept more away clean sheets, I heard, than home
Yeah,
clean
well,
sheets.
no. Yeah, they did actually. They had 14 clean sheets last year, 5 at home, 9 away. The third best defence in the league, 45 goals conceded out of 46 matches. So about a goal a game average there. That's my maths deduction. You're welcome. Yeah, no, like it's
Yes.
fine. Again, it's like there's no like I don't know. I suppose I'm kind of blathering here, but basically with the promoted teams this season, they're all pretty much wait and see in terms of defensive wise. Like, there's no 4.0 options that are nailed where I'm going, oh, well, I don't give a fuck if he concedes every week, he'll be on my bench. He's 4.0. That isn't the case with any of these lads, and it's the same with West Brom at the moment. You know, it seems to be all 4.5, 4.5, and I'm just kind of looking at the promoted teams down the line. As we said, they come into a nice run of fixtures from game week 4 onwards, so keep an eye on them. But there's no need to go mad on West Brom right now.
You you mentioned 4.0. They don't have any 4.0
No, they
defenders,
don't.
West Brom. Okay, you're right. They're all 4.5. But Leeds have a couple. And to go back from just for a moment, like you've got Douglas, you've got Stroik, Davies, and Casey. Now, I don't think Davies and Casey or Davis and Casey are
Yeah,
going to start. But Stroik and Douglas, I've seen those in a few people. It seems I've seen people talking about Stroik as a
I
potential option.
wouldn't.
But I think now they signed Kosh or Kosh
Cock.
or
It's
Cock or
cock,
whatever he's
Seamus.
called.
How do you not
Yeah.
know cock?
Well, now they signed him.
For fuck's sake.
But now it's not how I spell cock. But
Yeah,
anyway,
well, you spelled
they
like Hammers, Seamus, apparently. But look, we're not going to get bogged down in
yeah.
Leeds or West Brom. We're going to move right on straight into Fulham. And a man who's in both of our teams, Mitrovic, 6 million. Clearly the standout promoted option this year. I think something like, 30-40% of people have him in their teams right now. We both have him in our teams. Golden Boot winner. I think he was joint, or I'm not sure, but he was Golden Boot winner. Not a terrible run of fixtures either, Shane. It's a tough opening day, like a match against Arsenal, but Leeds and Aston Villa in game week 2 and 3. I think that's probably why we're, so relaxed with having him in my team. In terms of, like, I don't think I've taken him out since I put him in. To be honest with you, have you?
Yeah, I have him in my team since I put him in. He's been there. I'm still like totally enamored with him because I keep thinking like when I look at who I think is going to get where I think the final standings in the league are going to be, who I think are going to win, who's going to finish top 6, and who's going to get relegated. Like every prediction I'm making is like, yeah, Fulham are probably going to finish last in the league, maybe second or third last, but I still think they're going to get relegated. And then I'm like thinking to myself, if I believe they're going to get relegated, why am I so all in on one of their strikers? I mean, if they're going to get relegated, it's because they're going to concede a lot of goals and fail to score goals.
Well, I mean, the
So
year they did get
I
relegated,
think
like 2018, 2019, Mitrovic had a fantastic start to the league, if memory serves me correctly. No.
he did, and he ended up with 11 goals, 4 assists, which
I said
actually
start. I said a fantastic
was
start.
yeah, but he did tail off towards the end when it was clear they were
Yeah.
getting relegated. So a lot of these would have come in the first
Yeah.
2 or
He
3
was second
months.
for shots
But
that year. He had 151 shots in the 2018-2019
yeah,
season. But, like, shots off target, goals scored.
I don't buy a whole lot into that. I remember that season, that was only 2 years ago. All the stats like, oh, Mitrovic this and stats this. I'm like, have you ever watched the
Yeah, he
Fulham
kind of.
game? You used to get these, just a lot of headers, a lot of tame headers from like not within the 6 yard box, but like outside the 6, that he just put straight at the keeper or he put over. He gets something to. He's good at getting his head on the ball, but they were all low XG
He only
shots.
converted 8.4% of his chances last year as well, or in the 2018-2019 season. So even though he was second for shots that season, only converted 8.4%. Last year he converted 17.2% of his shots in the championship, but I think based on like how averages drop here and there, it's not boding well for a, like I'm not thinking all of a sudden, oh, he's just an easy straight in my team. The thing is, he's got decent fixtures, and I can look to move to a different striker, say like a Shea Adams, say Rodrigo from Leeds has a belter, things like that. I can get off him. He's not. Yeah. I just kind of want to spread out the money a little bit, and of the 6 million strikers out there, he's probably my preferred one.
Yeah, he's probably at his price point one of the best. I mean, at 6.5, I would rather Antonio, but Antonio's fixtures are muck apart from game week 1. So yeah, that's why I'm looking at, and I would be looking at somebody like maybe Chris Wood for Burnley if they had a game week 1 fixture. They don't, so this is why I'm on Mitrovic. And we mentioned what's his name, Calvert-Lewin for Everton a small while ago, 7 million. Again, I'd rather wait and see what his place in the team is this year with all the new signings. So yeah, that leaves me kind of just keep coming back to Mitrovic, and I can't really shift him from my team. I don't think, I've heard some people saying, well, look, he's definitely going to get 15 goals in the league.
I don't think that's fair to say at all.
No, I think that's, if he did 15 goals in the league this year, that'd be amazing. I think if he does, I think he'd do 10 to 12 goals. If he gets 12 goals and 5 or 6 assists, that'd be a great season for his price. All I'd want him to get is maybe most of those attacking returns in the first couple of months while I have him on my team.
No, I completely, I'm with you. I think for the amount of people that have Mitrovic in their teams this year, it's just don't be too fucking stuck to him. Like, I'm not stuck. I don't think he's kind of set in stone. I'm willing to get off him, but when you look at the fixtures, I'm going to be able to give him more time than I would other players. That's the issue. It's like, okay, Arsenal, not expecting much against Arsenal, but I'll see how he gets on against Leeds and Aston Villa. And all of a sudden, we're into, game week 3, game week 4, international break. Is it wildcard time? Do other options become apparent? But in terms of other Fulham...
He's just after coming back from an injury, though. It should be mentioned. Like, he was injured towards the end of last season, struggled, came on in the playoff final. Cobbled around a bit, did his bit, wasn't really at full fitness, and
he scored in
he did play an international break. Yeah, so he looks to be back now, playing again. But where his fitness is, I think he came out and said his fitness is about 10 days behind where the rest of the squad are where it needs to be. But I'm not really expecting him to do too much against Arsenal anyway. It's game week 2 and 3 fixture, like you mentioned.
He's kind of that's all his litmus test. But just looking at other Fulham options. Like, there isn't too many, as I said there, it's for me, well, I say there isn't too many. For me, I have a second Fulham player in my squad, and that's someone I was talking to you about before we went on air this evening, and that's Harrison Reed. 4.5, he's signed from Southampton, I believe. Was pretty much nailed on last year. Listening to Dara at Tinkerman, he's the Fulham correspondent for Planet FPL. He's always talking about him on Twitter, and he seems to reckon that Harrison Reed is the safest 4.5 option. Or not safest 4.5 option. He's a safe option for Fulham, but he's also 4.5. And we'll get onto shortly, but you have a 5 million defender in your team. There's several managers. There's lots of managers that have midfielders. Sorry, lots of managers that have 5 million midfielders in your team, and the question is kind of needs to be asked: if you don't intend on playing him, does he need to be 5 or 4.5? Can you save that $500,000? And I think if you choose to save the $500,000, the likes of a Harrison Reed for Fulham at 4.5 is a pretty solid option. And looking at the defense as well, they have, as you mentioned, they had 4 best defense last year in the championship. Not great. It's worth noting that basically they signed Michael Hector from Chelsea. He was on loan. I think he's signed full time now. Maybe they signed him full time last year. That I don't know. But they signed him in the January transfer window. Completely revitalized the defense. They ended up with 17 clean sheets, which, as I said, 4th best defense. Not great for a promoted team, but apparently he completely revitalized it. They've nicknamed him Virgil van Mike, which I think is my favorite nickname in the league this year. And if they continue the form that they basically picked up after they signed him, maybe he's their defense will be worth watching. But like because of their looking at their entire season, it's hard to know right now. Do you know that kind of way?
I've heard the same. I've heard Hector really changed and improved that defense. The problem is who's alongside him, because Tim Ream and we watched him when he was in the Premier League 2 seasons ago. He is not Premier League quality. So if that's who's playing beside him, and look, Le Marchand, I remember all these guys. Christie, he's an Irish international. These guys aren't good enough. Brian, I know he scored in the playoff final and stuff like that. None of these guys are that great. Mawson, not
Brian's
that great.
2 goals in the. I think he'd only scored 1 goal before them too. For just going back to him.
Yeah, and he's priced at 5.0. Yeah. Like, come off it. There's no way he's just a non-option now.
I think he was.
There's none of those guys.
He was kind of cursed by the 2-goal playoff final. Do you know that sealed his fate? It was like, okay, he's the one everyone's gonna be looking at.
Yeah, so I just don't think any of those appeal. I just can see them conceding a lot of goals this season. I'm surprised to hear they kind of did so well defensively last year. I mean, not too surprised. They did get promoted, so
and they didn't do too well. They just improved quite a bit. It's like, just to clarify, I don't know if I made myself clear, but either.
So, none of them. Really. That's why I have Aubameyang in my team, and I think he's probably going to be my game week 1 captain. I just can see them conceding a lot of goals in some games, so that's there's no one there defensively, even the goalkeepers.
You've done it again, Seamus. You segued perfectly into the next part of the show. You mentioned Aubameyang is your captain. We can all see that now. I don't know about that now, but that's a turn up for the books. What else have you got with your team? You've gotten rid of Salah.
So recently, like last week when we spoke, I was going for Salah, Mane, and Aubameyang, 3 big heavy hitters in midfield. I've kept with 3 big heavy hitters, but I've gone off Salah because I haven't been impressed with him in preseason. He hasn't gone away. He's been around. He's played in games, and he hasn't scored. And look, it's been a disjointed preseason because some people are away on international duty. Like Trent was away for the last game, for example. He's been injured before that. They did score a lot of goals. I think they scored 7-2 or something in their last game. So they are scoring goals. Mane scored. I still think I want to go at Mane over Salah. He always starts the season well. And I just haven't been impressed with it. I feel like going to double Liverpool attack, while it would be something different and it is a kind of a move that could be made, I just feel like I'm overexposed to double Liverpool attack, and I don't necessarily think they're going to give Leeds a hockey in. Maybe Salah, maybe they win 2-0. Maybe Salah gets both goals, but I'm willing to bet that it'll be Mane that gets in on the goals.
How much are you willing to bet?
Might start off about 12 million.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I've gone instead and moved that Salah player spot to Bruno Fernandes and put him on my bench. This was something I was kind of against, putting that sort of money on the bench, but I feel like I can still get a good opening game week 11 out, and then have Bruno Fernandes for that Crystal Palace game in game week 2. Crystal Palace, who are beset with injuries in defence. So then I can use another transfer to get in a second United player if I want, or roll it and get in 2 City players in game week 3. Probably won't get a City player in against Wolves in game week 2. Probably wait to game week 3. So these are kind of my options now. So that's where I'm going. I've got Fernandes on the bench, and I've got Mane, Aubameyang, who's currently my captain. That could be Mane. I'll decide closer. Then you've got Werner. So those are your 3 big premium players in my starting 11. Fernandes would be a 4th for the following game week. Mitrovic, I've gone for Noble. He was Richie last week, but Richie looks injured / possibly going to Bournemouth.
Returning.
And Saint-Maximin is still on my team. Yeah. And what I've done with the extra money from Fernandes is I put it in my defense. So instead of having a 4.0 defender like Johnson or Ferguson, I now have Bellerin for Arsenal. He's got 2 good opening fixtures. And I've also got Egan for 5.0 for Wolves, because I still think 5.0 is really good to invest in Sheffield United. So they're playing Wolves in game week 1. That's not the easiest fixture, but I just like Sheffield United. They've been pretty tight in pre-season. I think they'll continue to be tight at the back.
No, I think that's a pretty... I'm worried about the Bellerin move. I don't know about that. How much did you say Bellerin was?
5.0.
I don't know if I'd be invested in 5.0.
This is a player that has been 6 points. Yeah, but this is a player who's been 6.5. And I'll just pull up his stats here again. So, like in the last few seasons, okay, last season he played reduced minutes, only 1,100 minutes because
Yeah.
of injury. Got one goal, not a lot. Season before, still reduced minutes, 1,532 minutes. Got 5 assists. Season before that, 2 goals, 4 assists. Season before that, 1 goal, 5 assists. 1 goal, 6 assists. This is tied in with, when Arsenal can be defensively good, they can get they had that one season where he got 18 assists or 18 clean sheets and got 170
Clean shits. What are you
clean
fucking
sheets.
on it?
No such thing. Oxymoron. He got 172 points in the 15-16 season. We know he has it in him. For 5 million, I think he could be excellent value if, as it looks with the new signings that Arsenal have made and Arteta's, a project is in motion now. Fulham away, West Ham at home. That could be good. Next few games aren't great, admittedly. So I'm going to try and find a way to kind of rotate him out so I don't have to play him away to Liverpool or away to City in game weeks 3 and 5. So that's where I am at the moment. And Vinagre is still in there despite the rumors that now Porto are after him. And if that happens, that's going to be a pain in the balls if I have to deal with that, because he's been one of the most nailed people on my team. The last few weeks.
Same here. It would be a pity. I know they signed the other fullback in the last week or two, but apparently he's more of a backup left back. So I wasn't too worried about it. But yeah, as you mentioned, if the Porto move does go ahead, it would be a bit of a sickener, because it would make trying to get into Wolves' defense a bit tougher this season. Looking at your squad, Seamus, as I said, yeah, it's all good. It's worth noting that you've gone from no United and City cover to Fernandes on the bench. I think that's the big one for me. I'm like going, okay, you're sticking 10.5, you're saving that transfer. I assume that's something you'd recommend to other managers. I mean, if you're doing it yourself, Monkey C and whatnot.
Yeah, the other options out there, you can only have so many kind of big hitters and premiums anyway for game week 1. I think most people will be looking at having Aubameyang. Most people will probably want Trent, or maybe might go with Robertson. A lot of people have Werner in their team, and a lot of people have Salah, or in my case, Manny. So they might have Salah, Aubameyang. So there's a bit of a template forming there. With that, it means you have to go for cheaper options. There's a lot. I don't really want to go for Son, because I can see myself, if I had Son in game week 1 or game week 2, wanting to move him to Fernandes, or maybe Rashford or someone like that, or Greenwood in game week 2. So I'm like, you know what? Just save the transfer. Like, am I really going to put it all on Son hauling in game week 1, at home to Everton, when they've got so many games around it? That could just be, maybe he'll bang in 2 or 3 goals. Everton's new team right now looks pretty strong. This could be a tight, cagey affair. You don't know. And if I'm only going to get rid of him after 1 week anyway, I'd rather save the transfer. I'd rather bet against Son and just say, you know what? I'll just have Bruno on the bench. I'll just go, like, maybe Mark Noble can get a penalty against Newcastle, especially if Souček is going to be out. If he's going to miss it because he's got coronavirus and he's isolating.
Coronavirus. Yeah, no, I completely get you. That's fair enough. Looking at my team, not too dissimilar from when we last spoke, I suppose. I've dropped Shea Adams, and I had decided, I suppose, until today, to go with Greenwood on the bench, similar to your Fernandes on the bench. I was like, you know what, save myself the transfer. I mean, it's a bit of a weak game week 1 squad in the sense that I'm playing Reed, but I'm also playing Aubameyang, Son and Salah in midfield, 4 across the back. Now that Greenwood's gone and got himself a prostitute, I don't know. It makes it easier for me. It makes the decision easier to not have him in my team, because I felt like I was sacrificing something. I had like Saint Maximin in there, and then I was like, you know what, like, fuck that, no. And now I'm thinking, fine, Greenwood, Saint Maximin. All of a sudden, I've got 2 mil to play around with, and maybe I go and turn Davis back into a Shea Adams and give myself some selection doubts, because he's someone I'm looking at. But yeah, in general, similar enough to you, Seamus. I've gone with Alexander-Arnold. I think the fucking 90% of the fucking game has gone with him at this stage. I've also got Ryan in goals at the moment. I did make a transfer this week. It was probably the most important transfer I may undertake this season. I went from Button to Walton, from one 4.0 to another 4.0.
Oh.
But I think in general it's kind of the same.
Is Walton their backup keeper for Brighton now?
He is in the game. Like, I don't know if he is in real life, but in the game, the only other keeper is Walton. So I'm gonna say yeah. But no, like, check that space. That could very well change between now and the end of the season. But in general, like, I don't see a lot changing outside the Greenwood situation. Just jumping back on Newcastle, as we mentioned, I feel they have really strengthened their attacking options, and that makes me even more comfortable to go back to Saint Maximin. I suppose I'm most excited about the fact that you've gotten rid of Salah, which means I can be happy about having Salah and you having Mane, whereas last week when you had Salah and Mane, I felt like, oh, well, that takes away my Liverpool edge, and doubles yours for somehow. I think even Footbox channel worth checking out on YouTube, they mentioned it in their when they rated our teams over the weekend, and yeah, that really made me like a little bit sour about you having Mane and Salah. But now that you've decided,
I couldn't go. I
no,
haven't
you've
decided
decided,
anything.
Seamus.
I
It's done
could go
now. It's
back to
done.
that, but
No,
no. I could go back to it, but at the minute, I'm thinking save myself the transfer. Like I mentioned earlier, like I'm not. I don't feel like betting on Son, and at the minute, I'm kind of going. I was happy to bet on Salah. If you're going to bet on any player, you nearly bet on Salah. But now I'm thinking maybe if I'm going to want a Fernandez anyway for game week 2, that's going to be my move regardless. It's just going to be moving somebody in there. Then yeah, maybe I just do it now and just kind of hope that Salah doesn't do it against Leeds and put my chips on Mane. Like if I do get the impression that Salah's the way to go, maybe I change Mane to Salah. It's all they're the same price, but I just feel like game week 1 is the week to go for Mane
fair
instead of
enough. You've
Salah.
been kind of tempted of that over the last couple of seasons. You've mentioned wanting to go with Salah or not without Salah and going Mane over him, and you haven't done that over the last 2 years. And you're thinking this year, I'm taking it. I'm biting that bullet. You're full of
Well, I'll
confidence.
be on Salah. I'll be on Salah at some stage during the season. There's no doubt about that. But right now I'm just thinking, no, Mane's the way to
Fair
go.
enough, fair enough. Well, that's our two teams, and as I said at the top of the show, yeah, we're fucking real close to the game week 1 deadline now, and yeah, I'm super excited about it. I don't know what state my team's going to be in at the time, but I know that I'm looking forward to being able to do weekly episodes on actual, information, which is is almost my favorite in terms of like reacting to how the week has gone and reacting to how the week is going to go. Preseason, just because there's no friendlies, it's not delivering anything for me. It's just, you know, the odd transfer here and there, like what do you, like I'm looking at the same fucking fixtures I've been looking at for 4 weeks, no new information. This time next week, Seamus, that all ends.
Well, I think the first 3 weeks of the season, or up until the international break, or whenever the transfer deadline closes, I think those first few weeks are going to feel a bit like preseason. Obviously the teams who are going to be going for the title, you're like, Liverpool, City, they're going to try and hit the ground running. But I don't think they're going to be, you know, at the races straight away. And I think there will be, I think Liverpool will take a 1-0 win against Leeds. I think they're a 2-1 win. As long as they get the win, I think they'd be
No,
happy.
of
So
course.
I don't think they'd be necessarily at it straight away. That's why I'm like, do I really want to go all in on Liverpool here, like with triple Liverpool? They don't win, or if they drop points, could easily drop points, draw 0-0, draw 1-1. Then I'm there with my triple Liverpool going, Jesus, I'm overexposed here, and yeah, I'm going to want to get rid of him. So maybe just take the risk early on, and I think Man United will start off, the season really fast and really well. So Bruno, I want him straight in my team. Have him, get him in there. I could
Yeah, I
backtrack
feel
on
like
this.
this is exactly what you're going to backtrack on. And next,
This is what my preseason has been so far, making 5 or 6 different drafts based on different strategies and changing my mind and just working at different strategies, going, I like this strategy, I like this strategy. One of them will work, and I'll probably pick another
yep,
one.
no, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll see what state we are in next week. We'll probably be hitting it about Sunday, maybe Monday evening. We'll see what way it works. I would like to thank everyone who joined us this evening, especially if you're still here. That's amazing. We have the mini league code up on the screen. Again, it's EH4HH7. It's a triple H reference. I wish it was customized. It's not, but it did completely balls me up introducing it at the start of the show. Again, thank you for listening. Subscribe, follow, do all the usual shit, retweet it. It really, really helps, and we're super, super grateful for it. Bit of a long one, but it is the Game Week 1 preview, so I suppose we're allowed to indulge in that for a little while. Seamus, are you going to wish any of these fine folks anything?
I wish them well, and I hope you have a good Game Week 1, guys. If you want to DM us any questions during the week for next week, you can get us at FPL Hangover. I'm at FPL Drunk. Feel free to DM me. My DMs are open if you want to ask for any advice. I accept no responsibility for messing up your team, but I'll give you my honest opinion. And you can make the final decision yourselves if you want.
Yeah, fair enough. As I said, DM him. You know the usual crack. No limits, no holes barred. He takes everything. He takes it in all holes. With that, lads, I wish you an enjoyable Game Week 1, and God bless.